Hi, I'm Effie and today we're going to be playing a game of Kiss, Marry, Kill with the books that I DNF'd in 2024. So I'm a firm believer in DNFs. I think you don't owe anything to a book, and if you're not enjoying it, and under the category of enjoyment, hate reads count. If you want to read something for the pure anger it incites in you, amazing. But if you're not enjoying it, DNF it. That's not to say every book on this list is a book that I haven't been enjoying. Some of them I've just had too many books on my plate and I've had to make cuts. So with this in mind, there are going to be DNFs that I firmly want to pick up again. But I just thought I'd make it a bit fun going through all of my DNFs by playing Kiss, Marry, Kill. So it should be pretty obvious, but basically Kill are DNFs that I don't think I would ever want to pick up again. Kiss, kind of on the fence. And Marry, obviously, are ones that I actually kind of desperately want to get back to. But as is the nature of Kiss, Marry, Kill, I'm going to have 3 books at a time that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to have to put each of them into categories. In order to make this fun, we have a bowl of the titles of books that I DNF'd, and I'm not going to know which 3 are getting paired up together, so I'm hoping this is going to bring up some interesting books. I'm also going to be using this as an excuse to kind of talk about what did or didn't work for me about the books and why they are a DNF. So let's pop the secondary camera on and let's get into this game. Secondary camera's on, so let's see what our first 3 books are. So first up we have Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I'm really hoping these are in focus. I can kind of just about see the secondary camera, but not like super well. So Hooked. Then what else have we got? Oh, this one's upside down. The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nevo. And I should remember which one this is because this is like ripped in a certain way, but The Wedding Witch by Erin Sterling. So of those 3 titles, none of them I feel particularly strongly in any way about. I think I'm gonna kill Hooked, I'm gonna kiss The Wedding Witch, and I'm gonna marry The Chosen and the Beautiful. So as I say, I don't feel particularly strongly about any of them. I just think that Hooked is maybe not quite for me as a book. And then The Chosen and the Beautiful I picked up as part of a book club, and then like my mental health dipped and they basically just booted me out of the book club. So I just never continued it, but I want to. And then The Wedding Witch, from what I'd read of it, seemed promising, but it also, like, I wasn't super excited to get into reading more of it. Next up, we have Them by Mick Watson. This is immediately going to be a kill. So I guess it's good for whatever the other 2 are. Come Out, Wherever You Are by Harley Beck. And what we got? The Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka Older. Clearly, we already know my kill is going to be Them. I don't know why I'm showing it up to the camera. I don't know if you can really see it. I'm going to stop doing that. But my kill is going to be Them by Mick Watson. Like, I would kill this, revive it, just to kill it again. I absolutely despise this book. It was so twisted in a not enjoyable at all way, and I still think about it in really negative ways. I hated this book so much. Come Out, Wherever You Are by Harley Beck. This is a tricky one because, well, it's not tricky. It's just that the thing is, right, if somnophilia is your kink and you're in a consenting relationship where you're both on board with that, amazing. I'm never gonna kink shame you for that. But in books, it's just a massive ick for me. I do not enjoy books that contain somnophilia or things that are kind of adjacent to that, I guess. And then the mimicking of known successes started off really strong. And then I think like the second chapter, or possibly chapter 1, I can't remember if it had a prologue or not, but the perspective changed and I wasn't super into it anymore. So I think I'm going to say again, I'm holding up the pieces of paper. I'm going to say marry for the mimicking of known successes and kiss for come out, wherever you are. Next up, we have Blood Orange by Harriet Tice, Girl Meets Boy by Ali Smith, and I don't know why I'm like shuffling them around. They're already pretty well mixed up, and I'm not going to know what they are anyway. Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. Okay, so this is actually a pretty good selection because I feel like it's pretty clear to me which are Kiss, Marry, Kill. So Kill is going to be Blood Orange. I was not enjoying what I read of it. It didn't feel like it was going anywhere. Just wasn't a good time for me. Girl Meets Boy is going to be Kiss. I thought it was an interesting story that it was telling, but it didn't have me hooked. And then Marry is going to be Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. And the main reason I DNF'd this was because I was in a place where I needed to audiobook the books I was reading. So I started the audiobook, and the male narrator, I believe it is, I could not get on board. I did not like the way those chapters were being narrated, and I just couldn't continue listening to the audiobook. But I definitely want to continue with this book. Next up, we have Voices of the Dead by Ambrose Parry, Dream by the Shadows by Logan Carley, and A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. Again, I don't feel like I have particularly strong feelings about any of these. To be honest, I think I'm going to say Dream by the Shadows is going to be a kill. I can't remember how far into it I got, maybe like somewhere between 25 and 50% in, and it just felt like the story wasn't progressing very quickly. It wasn't going in a direction that interested me, and I just don't think this book is going to be for me if I had continued it. And then I think Kiss, I'm going to go with A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I've had good experiences with this author in the past in terms of reading, but I wasn't super sucked in by what I'd read. But that's not to say if I'd gotten further, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. And then Voices of the Dead, I do very much want to continue. It's book 4 in the Raven, Fisher and Simpson series, and I've enjoyed the books I've read so far in this series, so I am keen to continue. Victory's Greater Than Death by Charlie Jane Anders, 4 Weddings and a Christmas by Philippa Ashley, and Let Your Hearts Be Light by Faye Quinn. So for this one, I'm going to kill 4 Weddings and a Christmas. Not my kind of book at all. It starts with 2 kids doing a mock marriage for school for some reason, and I didn't get the point of it at all, and I was like, yeah, this is not the kind of story that I'm enjoying. Victory's Greater Than Death, I'm gonna kiss. I enjoyed what I'd read so far. I think it was one of these though that the page count was deceptive because it was taking me a lot longer than I would have expected based on the page count. And then Let Your Hearts Be Light, I really would have liked to have continued, but I just didn't have the time for it. So that's getting married. That's the one. Fragile Animals by Genevieve Jagger. Oh, that was 2 there. The 10% Thief by Lavanya Lakshminarayan. And again, that was 2. The Death I Gave Him by MX Liu. So I very decidedly and very hard DNF'd Fragile Animals, so that's going to be the kill. I mean, I'm not sure if it's meant to be fantastical or not. At the point I got to, it didn't feel like it was going in a fantasy direction. There was a lot of focus on the bowel movements of our main character, and I just was not engaged in the story, which is a shame because I believe vampires were meant to be something to do with the story, but it just wasn't the story for me. And then I'm going to say the 10% thief is Kiss. I wasn't super engaged, but I probably wouldn't be mad if I had to pick it up again. And then the death I gave him, I am not super familiar with Hamlet. Like, I know... No, actually. I know... Is Yorick Hamlet? No, that's Othello, isn't it? Yeah, I don't really know the story of Hamlet, and maybe that's why I enjoyed what I'd read so far of it. And I'd be looking forward to reading more if I had the opportunity. The Poisoner by Ivy Ophelia. A Fireborn of Exile by Aliette de Barod. And If Found, Return to Hell by MX Lou. That's so funny. There's only 2 MX Lou's in this bowl, and the fact I picked them out back to back is actually quite funny to me. Ooh. Okay, so I don't actually feel super strongly about it, but I'm going to kill A Fireborn in Exile because I felt lost, and it felt like it was a shared universe where shortcuts have been taken on the assumption that you understood things in this shared universe. So reading it on its own, I just felt lost. I also felt like the characters read quite young, but then they were talking about marriage, which made me think they were maybe a bit older than how they were reading to me. And then Kiss, I'm going to say The Poisoner. I didn't get super far in. I basically picked up because there was going to be, I think, a Kickstarter special edition of it. And I wanted to see if it was a book I enjoyed so much that I'd want that special edition. And then kind of a few pages in, I was like, okay, yeah, this doesn't seem like something I'm so excited about. I need a super special edition. And then If Found, Return to Hell. It was another one where, like, I wish I'd had more time to continue reading it because I did really enjoy what I managed to read of it. There's still so many in this bowl. How many books did I DNF this year? I'll get my editing self to put a number on screen. But The Court of Miracles by Victor Dixon. The Undiscovered Deaths of Grace McGill by C.L. Robertson. And The Stockings Were Hung by Vera Valentine and G.L. Logos. The kill is pretty obvious to me, and that's The Court of Miracles. It wasn't engaging or interesting. It felt very generic, which is fine. Like, if you're picking up that kind of book and that's what you're looking for, great. But for me, I just wasn't interested in continuing it. I'm going to say The Stockings Were Hung is Kiss because I do enjoy Vera Valentine's writing, and I've read one book of her writing as a duo and it was pretty serviceable. But, like, the books aren't life-changing. They're enjoyable. They're a good time whilst you're reading them. But I'm not going to be caught up if I never get to continue it. So for Mary, we're going with The Undiscovered Deaths of Grace McGill because I was intrigued by what I read so far. I don't know where the story's going, but I got a good feel for who this character was and wanted to read more. I'm going to give it a little bit of a mix because it's feeling like it's not super well mixed up, but I could be wrong. Okay, so we've got Titan's Tears by Chad Lester. That's probably going to be a kill unless we get one of the ones I really hated. The Sunlit Man by Brandon Sanderson. And Goddess of Limbo by Leah Falls. Titan's Tears, kill, hated it. Didn't like the way it painted this particular little girl. Just complete miss for me. Sunlit Man is Kiss. Wasn't super engaged, didn't really get what was going on, but if I had to continue reading it, it wouldn't kill me to continue reading it. And then Goddess of Limbo, basically it's the start of a series that isn't being finished, which valid, authors don't owe me anything, but I wasn't willing to put in the time to finish this book, which I think is like 700 pages long, knowing that it's the start of a series that isn't going to get finished. Okay. Rose House by Arcady Martin. Fanged by Elizabeth Wheatley. And this one's like double folded. Falling for Jack Frost by Molly Lukovic. So, Fanged, I'm going to kill. The writing style was not engaging. I felt like it was sold to me as being a certain kind of story, and that's not how it felt. Rose House, I'm going to kiss. I thought it was an intriguing concept, but it was quite slow going, and I think you're following a detective, investigator, something like that, which made me less keen to continue it. And then Falling for Jack Frost, I do love a bit of a monster romance, and I'm learning that Christmas books might actually be my cup of tea. Obviously, like when I say Christmas books, I mean generally like winter holiday books. But yeah, good time. A Flight to Love by Frankie Fire. To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monoquill Blackgoose. And it's a final one. But I say final as if we haven't still got a bowl. Railed by the Krampus by Dahlia Davies. So, kill. I'm going to go for A Flight to Love. I'm sure it's perfectly serviceable, but I knew pretty quickly it wasn't quite doing it for me. And then Kiss, we're going to go Railed by the Krampus. I wasn't super sucked in by it initially, but I think it has the potential to be quite an interesting and enjoyable book. And again, I do quite like a monster romance, so I'm down to read more of it. I just didn't have time to read it this year. And then To Shape a Dragon's Breath, I'm going to say marry, because I mean, what I read was fantastic. It felt very much in the oral tradition of storytelling, even though I was reading it physically. It was almost like the oral tradition came through, and I've heard the absolute best things about this book, so I do want to continue it. Okay, that was a lot squidged together. The Xmas Holidays by Zoe Allison. Let's go for one on this side. All You Want for the Holidays by Quentin Lee. And Chrysalis and Requiem, also by Quentin Lee. Okay, we've got a Quentin Lee round. Again, there's only 2 Quentin Lees in here, so that's quite fun that we're getting them together. Okay, so which one are we going to kill? Okay, we're going to kill All You Want for the Holidays, because I honestly, like, I got samples of all the Christmas books from Amazon, and the sample for this was like 2 pages long, so I was very confused, and I didn't get a really good as in not good positive, good as in substantiative. I didn't get a good impression of what this book's about, so if I had to get rid of one, it'd be this one, just because I have no stakes in it. And then Kiss, I was going to say Kiss is the Xmas Holidays, but I don't know. Yeah, Kiss is going to be the Xmas Holidays, because I believe it's an MF romance, and I mean, I tend to prefer a queer romance. I don't mind an MF romance, but I don't know if it's going to do it for me or not. Which means Marry is going to be Chrysalis and Requiem. I was so confused by the start of this book, but I think it's one that as I continue reading, I'll probably understand more, and I'll probably get really sucked in. I think it's like a murder mystery at a magical school, so things that have the potential to be quite enjoyable. The Library of the Dead by T.L. Hutchie. A Benny's Song by P. Jelly Clark. And let's go with this one. On the Fox Roads by Nevo. For kill, I'm going to go for On the Fox Roads. It felt very Americana, and I wasn't super sucked into it. For Kiss, I'm going to go with A Benny Song. I think it had a lot of potential, but again, I wasn't super sucked in by what I read. And then for Marry, I'm going to go with The Library of the Dead. I think it's a very intriguing concept. And the only reason I didn't finish it is because I ran out of time. Or ran out of time to read it. I had a lot of things on my plate at that point. Okay, so we've got The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is multiple. The Heart by David Sodergren, and The Saint of Bright Doors by Vajra Chandrasekhara. This is quite a hard one. Again, I don't feel like super strongly about any, but I'm going to say kill for The Heart just because like it was pretty transparent where it was going to go and I just didn't feel like I needed to continue it. So like, it's a book I'm definitely never going to return to, but it's not an inherently bad book. For Kiss, we're going to say The Seventh Veil of Salome. Based on what I read, I wasn't sucked in. I wasn't that intrigued. But I do, you know, I've had good experiences with Silvia Moreno Garcia again, so I'm not ruling out the book. I'm not rushing to continue reading it. And then what we got left, Marry, I think. The Saint of Bright Doors, I got a not insubstantial chunk of the way through. And I think it was just a case of, at that point, so I was reading it for my voting in the Hugo Awards vlog. And at that point, I knew it wasn't going to be my number one or my number two. So I kind of paused that to focus on refining what I was going to vote as number one in that category. Okay, this one's like, again, it's like multiple folded. We have Once Upon a Dark October by Jessie Thomas. A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske. And The Weaver by Heather Kint. So The Weaver, we're going to kill. Didn't like the writing style. Wasn't particularly intrigued. Once Upon a Dark October, we're going to kiss. I just wasn't vibing with it at that point in time. And then A Marvellous Light, we're going to marry because I desperately want to continue that book and the series as a whole. Mistletoe in the Marigny by Kyle Baxter. Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And The Gosling Girl by Jacqueline Roy. If I'm honest, if I could kill all three of these, I would. And I'm kind of tempted to do so. But that would be against the game. So, Shards of Earth, we're going to kill. Gosling Girl, we're going to kiss. And then Mistletoe in the Marigny, we are going to marry. Oops. Seeds of Mercury by Wang Jinkan. Haunting Beauty by Kayla Rain and Meg Ann. I really need some like good titles to be pulled out of here because so far I'm feeling very mid about these. A Cruel Thirst by Angela Montoya. None of these I am ever going to return to. And again, I don't know if I'd put them all in kill. That's a bit strong, but I'd probably, you know, not likely. So how do I pick? Okay, kill, we're going to go for Haunting Beauty. Kiss, we're going to go for Seeds of Mercury. And then, I guess we're going to marry A Cruel Thirst. I don't want to say too much about that book because it comes out next year. Or doesn't come out till next year. Like, I will be saying stuff about that book because I have a video coming up where I talk about the arcs that I've got for 2025 releases and my thoughts on them. But yeah, I was so hyped for it and it just didn't live up to it. Unraveller by Frances Hardinge. The Significant Others of Odime by Claire Dwyer. And Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett. So this is the other end of the spectrum of books that I actually, all three of them, I want to continue. But, you know, in the interest of actually playing the game, the significant others of Oddie May, I am going to kill. Ooh, Unraveller, I'm going to kiss. I was super intrigued and wanted to continue, but again, I just had too many books on my plate. And then Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, I really enjoyed. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I just didn't have time to continue Map of the Otherlands. I genuinely can't remember why, because it was at the start of the year, but I didn't continue it. I DNF'd it, so that's that, I suppose. Glitterland by Alexis Hall. I feel like we're getting to the bottom of the bowl, slowly but surely. The Subjects by Sarah Hopkins. And what's our third one? The Atrocity Archives by Charles Stross. Kill is going to be The Subjects. I was initially quite intrigued and engaged with the writing, but then it just got a bit fat-phobic about one of the characters, and I'm just not here for that energy. The Atrocity Archives, I'm going to kiss. I was confused. It's such an engaging and well-written story, but I was so confused. So that makes me hesitant to pick it up again in the future. And then Glitterland. So the Spire series is very different from any other Alexis Hall that I've read in the past, which made me not initially engage with this book. I also made the mistake of reading the footnotes as I went, and I would not recommend that. But having now read books 2 to 4 in the Spire series, I do very much want to continue reading Glitterland, because I know I really loved the rest of the Spire series, so I'm pretty positive I'm also going to love Glitterland. The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. A City on Mars by Zach and Kelly Weinersmith. And Don't Marry Me at Christmas by Claire Lydon. I'm going to kill Don't Marry Me at Christmas. You know, there's so many books out there, it just didn't immediately pull me in. I'm going to kiss A City on Mars. Fantastic and fascinating book. And again, I just had too much on my plate at that time. And then The Honey Witch, I'm going to marry. I am excited to continue reading it at some point. I mean, when I've been saying continue reading, it means I'm going to have to start from the start. This is the thing, like for me, a soft DNF is when I DNF it but plan to start it again, and a hard DNF is I DNF it but don't plan to ever read it again. And the thing that defines them as a DNF is that I've decided that if I was going to pick them up again, I would need to start from the start. So whilst I say continue, I do mean I will be starting at the start of the story and then continuing reading beyond the point that I got to last time, but I will have to read the whole book if I choose to pick them up again. Okay, I'm just going to centre the ball a bit more. Undead Gods by Caitlin Battelle. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. And Hers to Rule by Coral Alejandra Moore. These are all pretty solid options, to be honest, but I'm going to say kill Undead Gods, kiss Interview with the Vampire, and marry Hers to Rule. I don't have super much to say on those, or most titles it would seem, but that's how I'm feeling. Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. The 30-Day Engagement by Waverley Decker. I'm actually having to scoop around to find them now. The Map to You by Rachel Stockbridge. Love Light Farms, we're gonna kill. I was not engaged at all with what I read. The Map to You, we're gonna kiss. Wasn't super engaged. I don't think I loved the characters, but if you made me continue reading it, I probably would. And the 30-Day Engagement, I love fake engagement, fake dating, all of that jazz. So I'd be down for it, and it is sapphic. That said, I don't have any plans of continuing reading it, but, I wouldn't be mad if I had to. Gilded Thorns by Maya Tate. Confessions of an Antichrist by Marta Scadi. And Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. So this is a really tricky one in that there's two that I very much 100% I'm going to continue reading and loved what I got to at that point. So Guild of Thorns unfortunately is going to have to be a kill. And then Confessions of an Antichrist is going to be a kiss, only because Some Desperate Glory, if I'd had the opportunity to finish it, could have quite possibly made my best books of the year list. That's how much I was enjoying it. But I was also really enjoying Confessions of an Antichrist. Pray for Him by Tyler Battaglia. Only the Guilty Survive by Kate Roberts. And Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. Okay, so none of these I would truly want to get rid of, but Pray for Him's going to be a kill just because it was quite slow paced and I was having a hard time getting into it. It also was having a soporific effect on me, which is impressive considering I suffer from insomnia. Little Secrets, I'm going to kiss. I wasn't super engaged, but also, I wouldn't mind seeing where the story went. And then Only the Guilty Survive. Honestly, don't remember too much about it, but it's going to be a marry because I do remember being quite sucked in by what I had read. Reforged by Seth Haddon. The Snowball Effect by Haley Cass. And Robber Girl by S.T. Gibson. That's a really mean one because I could quite happily continue reading all of these and could foresee myself reading them all in the future. But I'm going to say The Snowball Effect is going to be a kill just because if I had to get rid of one, it's not super unique. And then Reforged is going to be a kiss. I was enjoying what I read so far, but S.T. Gibson's writing style is just such a win for me that I have to put Robber Girl as a marry. Have we got... Oh, we have got more than 3 left. Okay. So, we have The Stars Want Blood by Morgan Lawson. Life Does Not Allow Us to Meet by Hichi. The Peppermint Problem by Jordan Alexander. Life Does Not Allow Us to Meet is going to be a kill. Just wasn't super intrigued. The Stars Want Blood is going to be a marry. I've done that in the wrong order, but anyway, it's going to be a marry. I was quite engaged with what I'd read up to the point I got up to. I thought it was quite a unique and intriguing concept, and the magic system felt very different. And then The Peppermint Problem is going to be a kiss. So if we've only got 2 left, which I'm thinking I can only fill 2, then we're going to get rid of the kiss option. So The First Woman by Jennifer Nasibuga Makumbi, and yeah, I'll lift. Oh, there's one that's going over the side. I might actually have 3 then. I'll lift the bowl up to have a look. Liberty's Daughter by Naomi Kritzer and Ballad for Jasmine Town by Molly Ringwald. That is the last of them. Feels somewhat terrible doing this, but I'm going to kill The First Woman because it just wasn't the book for me. I think a lot of people have enjoyed and engaged with the book, but at the point I got into it, I just was not interested in what it was saying. I'm honestly not really sure what it was saying, but it just kind of got under my skin. Liberty's Daughter, I'm going to kiss. I think it had quite a unique perspective, and I'd be interested to see where the story went as a whole. And then Ballad for Jasmine Town, I loved or have loved Molly Ringwald's writing in the past, so I'm pretty confident that if I chose Marry for it, I would actually have a good time with it. So those are all of the books that I ended up DNFing in 2024. I would love to know which ones of these you think I have made a massive mistake in DNFing and should give another try in 2025. But until then, thank you for watching. Love you. Bye.